Our first horse is in the ring, introducing bridle number 1156, and the horse is Robbie Jones, who's owned and trained by Kelly Junta, an amateur rider from Charlottesville, Virginia, aboard this 7-year-old bay gelding, great breeding by Shackelford out of the Bernardini Dam Silver Blossom. Had 19 starts on the track and 1 win, competing this week in eventing and show hunters. And let's enjoy the first performance of the day, Robbie Jones and Kelly Junta. So this cross-country finale will see two of which are the 8, and then they'll show a gallop at the end of the round. Kelly Junta and Robbie Jones through their course, and one of the things we ask all the competitors, or the competitors have asked for the people here in the TCA covered arena, is after the 8th and final fence, they'll show their gallop, but please hold your applause until after the riders bring their horses down. This is the final fence. Time to gallop. And congratulations to Robbie Jones and Kelly Junta for kicking off the eventing. And Ashley and Donna were underway. Your thoughts on that first competitor over the 8 jumps that make up the eventing finale?
It's always hard to go first. I think that was a good start out. There was pretty steady. Took a little while to get settled into the gallop at the end, not being able to see anyone else go. This is definitely a different environment where you don't normally practice a gallop inside, but there's definitely picked up the pace and showed some good striding at the end there.
Yeah, I'd love to see that thoroughbred stride stretch out there at the end. It was a beautiful thing to see.
So our second horse and rider is now in the arena, bridle number 1149. The horse is promoted, and the rider is Lisbeth Storant. This is a horse that was bred in Pennsylvania by Jonathan Shepard, and Lisbeth has been working as an upper-level 5-star groom and barn manager for 3.5 years for Kim Severson. This horse promoted, made 15 starts on the track, and was in the top 3 in 9 of them, retiring in 2019 in the home state of Pennsylvania.
So Jonathan, one of the interesting things I think about this horse is that he looks like he has the physique more of a dressage horse, and so it'll be interesting to see how he handles the jumps.
Well, when you have a thoroughbred who may actually come in with those properties, I mean, the thoroughbred, I think, naturally has that athletic ability. So, yeah, I think, and you would probably speak to the same, Ashley, that the thoroughbred's dressage may actually be the toughest of the 3 disciplines in eventing.
Yes, this one does have a really nice structure. A lot of them are built to run low and flat, and some are even built a little downhill, so it's not as often that you see one that is actually naturally built up. But I'll tell you, overall, as a standard, I haven't seen a lot of thoroughbreds that have a tough time getting over jumps.
I can imagine.
I think one of the interesting things for these horses is that they've had that extra year of retraining. Some of them are already going training, or in the case of the next horse we'll see after this one, Mr. Park, looking to compete at prelim. So
as a 5-year-old,
yeah, these jumps are actually going to be kind of tiny for some of these horses.
And some of what you're seeing speaks of the care that these horses get. They look completely different than they do on the track. They're filled out, they're well muscled, their coats are gorgeous, and that comes from the time that's put in to really bring them to this top level of care that they have.
So Ashley and Jonathan, full disclosure, I have never ridden over jumps a day in my life. I've only ever ridden thoroughbreds going fast. And so can you talk about maybe what could have gone a little better in the setup to that second jump? Were you watching it, Ashley?
Yeah, to the second jump, it looks like the horse did not have his eye on it coming around the turn and probably needed to be pushed a little bit more forward to it. Again, even the 2020 horses are still green at this eventing and sometimes do need a little extra help and support from their rider. You see he's just a little tentative and backs off at the jumps a little bit. So having the rider that is really confident can help push them over, can help build the confidence throughout the course. So a little bit more forward, and sometimes you have these green horses that get really excited and need to be told, hey, there's a jump coming up. There's a lot to look at. So sometimes sounds like a contradiction, but you need to send them forward, but also give them a little half halt to say, hey, pay attention. There's something coming up that we need to work together on.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And also a big thing to remember is that this environment, normally for eventing, you're outside the whole time. So there's so much stimulation in here, and it's a tough first couple of jumps because you go from 1 to 2 and you go right by the in gate, which is like, that's what I'm used to. That's my ticket out. So these first couple jumps, I think, are actually a bit challenging for horses that may not have been in this environment.
Well, he certainly knows how to stride out, doesn't he?
Yeah, he was a little more keen to go right into that gallop than the first one. And
that's Promoted and Lisbeth Sorant. They came in 4th place in the eventing finale. All of the 5 finalists competing in this mega makeover at the novice height of 2 feet 11. And also recognizing the great aftercare organizations from which some of these horses have come from. The first horse, Robbie Jones, came from Cantor, Illinois, and there's a Cantor booth here inside the TCA covered arena. Also, a lot of the other great aftercare organizations have booths, and they're definitely worth checking out around the competition area. As Promoted and Lisbeth Storant leave the TCA covered arena, next up we will have a horse that I'm actually very familiar with from his racing career. Introducing bridle number 1122 for Mr. Park, who is owned and trained by Britt Vegas from Milford, Nebraska, and Britt rehomes many off-the-track thoroughbreds. Mr. Park, a horse that raced in Colorado at Bally's Arapahoe Park, where I announced him getting his lone win in 7 starts. And this is a horse at 5 years old who's competed successfully up to training and looking to move up to prelim as well. And this will be a horse worth looking at his stride out in the gallop, but please hold your applause at the very end until they finish up their round.
Yeah, this horse is definitely sitting on go. He looks like he's just a keg of dynamite waiting to be unleashed.
he really is an impressive horse, and when you see him get to go, he truly shines out on the cross-country course. And Britt says out in dressage he can put down a 23, but the next day he might put down a 43. So it really depends on what horse you have on that day. And she does an amazing job handling it. You watch, he's getting a little up and looky, and she's just smiling through it all. And that's what you need to be an eventer.
Yeah, and you can see she comforts him every now and then, gives him a little pat and says, "It's okay, I understand you're nervous, but we're going to keep going forward."
And to remember that he's 5, I mean, that's which is someone who's only been involved in racing before getting involved with OTTBs. I thought that was actually pretty old for a horse.
So having covered the World Equestrian Games for NBC, I didn't realize that in dressage, the horses are not allowed to even start practicing some of the maneuvers until they're 6 years old because they believe they don't have the foundation and the muscle structure yet. So when you look at it in terms of how they treat the dressage horses, he is a very, very young horse.
Yes, it takes years to develop the muscle and control to do some of those dressage movements. But one thing you can see, Park has such an impressive natural form. Those knees just snap up. He's one of my favorite horses to watch. And Britt was a little worried. Again, we've stated that he's preparing for prelim, and she was worried that he wasn't going to think these were big enough. But those knees are still popping up quite nice.
Yeah, he does make it look quite easy.
Another thing about the thoroughbreds with how athletic they are is sometimes you actually have to put a sizable jump in front of them for them to respect it. Otherwise, they think they might be just trot poles on the ground.
Yeah, we've known some really talented young horses that when you're at the beginner novice height, which is 2.7, that they'll have a ton of penalties, a ton of dropped rails because they just don't see them as really jumps that are worth anything. And then once you start putting the jumps higher, that's when they start going clear.
That's interesting.
All right, I've been looking forward to this. I can't wait to see this gallop.
They're at the post.
Yeah, there
And
it goes.
they're off. Jonathan, would you like to call this like it's a horse race? Because it
That's
looks
right.
like one.
Going right-handed into the far turn, and here comes Mr. Park and Britt
As
Vegas.
he turns for home. And he pulled up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We watched him out on cross country, and he was flat out. The gallop was absolutely amazing, and I wonder how long it's going to take for him to finish or to slow down. And he comes back pretty quickly too.
Britt Vegas and Mr. Park and Donna and Ashley. That was quite a nice gallop out at the end.
Yes, and please remember to hold your applause. You can see he's still a keg of dynamite ready to explode. I think that gallop out at the end just got him revved up even more, Jonathan.
Well, this is a pair that's one of 7 for the class of 2020 that has made the finale in not just 1 but 2 disciplines. They'll be back for show jumping a little bit later this morning. It is quite remarkable to see how such young horses can excel, and a few of these horses will be in the finale in a couple of disciplines. So now to the next horse and rider, number 1182. The horse is Sweet Talking Man, owned and trained by Emma Partridge, an amateur rider from Wilmore, Kentucky, aboard this 7-year-old Dark Bay Gelding, who is sired by not only the great race sire, but a great sport horse sire as well in Flatter, a horse that was unraced on the track. So we have the range of horses that have never made it to the track to those that have run 100 times or more competing in the Mega Makeover finale. And this horse has been competing at novice level in eventing, and here they are in the finale, and they'll be jumping the novice height, Sweet Talking Man and Emma Partridge. It might be some training facility because I don't recognize it.
This is definitely a different type of horse from the last one we saw. Really large structure. Another one that you could say almost has a dressage type, but very rhythmic and steady, nice and relaxed, and he seems like he is also wise beyond his years.
Well, he's by Flatter, who was a gorgeous horse. In fact, my husband trained him as a 2-year-old, and then when he came back to the track, I believe he went to Steve Penrod, but he was just a beautiful horse, and he throws some beautiful horses also.
Flatter is one of the horses, if I see in a pedigree, I'll do my darndest to get my hands on that horse.
You know they're beautiful.
Oh my gosh, they're really awesome. And incredibly athletic as well. And I'm sure this conversation will come up a lot today, but when you're breeding genetics, it's all a crapshoot. You can have a flatter horse, and some of them are spectacular and do really, really well on the track, and some of them don't really show much for the racing, but then come out and are awesome sport horses. So you can kind of use, you know, the bloodlines as a guide, but there's no guarantees in racing or in sport.
I would say the only thing you can pretty much be assured of is that if he's by a thoroughbred, out of a thoroughbred, it's going to be an athlete. But what kind of athlete, we don't know.
That's a very good way to put it, yeah. But yeah, it is interesting to look through the pedigrees and to notice some commonalities among some of the top sport horses. Some of the sires I'm really fond of when it comes to sport horses. Kitten's Joy, I think, is like, oh, yep, that is a Kitten's Joy. That makes sense. So how Emma is riding this demeanor of horse, say, compared to how Britt had to ride Park?
You can see very different strategies, and in all honesty, I'd like to see him forward a little more and a little up. It looks like they're preparing for a hunter round, which is beautiful and steady and set back and has the nice knees, but even right there needs a little bit more forward to make that distance. So
just like now he's broken to a trot for the third time, he doesn't seem to want to stay in a canter, as you're saying, just not quite as forward as you might want him to be.
I think if she had a bit more leg and a little bit more drive to that, this is one for opposite reason. I'll be very interested to see the gallop. We'll see if he wakes up, but it just when he's in that canter, it's very lovely and very rhythmic. But generally, you want a little bit more spice when you're eventing.
And this is a unique setup to not only have it indoors, but to bring some of the cross-country jumps indoors as well.
The horses have to have a little bit of maturity to deal with that, to be able to gallop, to be able to come back, to jump some cross-country jumps inside.
It's interesting to see his ears are kind of back and forth between being pinned back and forward. He's not sure if he really wants to do this long, fast stride out or not.
And he was crossfiring there for a little bit, and I think he's just a little tentative in here about why on earth should he be galloping in this environment.
He's like, these turns are sharp and they come up fast, really?
And he's like, that's not very polite to go that fast inside. He seems a very polite horse.
Yes.
Emma Partridge and Sweet Talking Man and Donna and Ashley, some of the things that we've observed as we talk to the audience on the live stream, the event horses that we've seen so far, they've all had different demeanors when they come into the covered arena.
Event horses come in all shapes and sizes, and we've seen two very, very different types come in. We had small and spicy, and big and very laid back and steady and rhythmic, and both of them show great aptitude and potential to be awesome eventers. And it's one great thing about the sport, it's so versatile.
Having covered the Land Rover 3-day event, which used to be Rolex for so many years, I asked Stephen Bradley one time, because he always rides only off-track thoroughbreds, not thoroughbreds who haven't been to the track, off-track. And I asked him why, and he said because the one thing he knows he's going to get is a horse who has a work ethic. And so these horses have to have a strong work ethic already. He said, it's going to be hard enough to train them to transfer to a different discipline. I don't also need to teach them to work. And so these horses show up ready to do a job, which is great, but some of them maybe just don't quite know their job yet, or they're not ideally suited for it, but I'm sure that they'll all find the proper place.
You're right. When it's done well, the exposure that horses get on the track from all the trailering that they do and the number of people that handle them and being in those surroundings, it really sets them up well. They have that foundation that can be established on the track. Speaking of racetrack, the last name of our next rider will be familiar to racing fans. Jazz Napravnik is aboard Legends Hope, rider number 1103, the leaders in the eventing discipline coming into the finale. They'll also be part of the finale for stadium jumping coming up next. And Legends Hope, unlike the previous horse who was unraced, this horse made 45 starts on the track and had a long career that went from 2016 to 2019 and had 4 wins and 13 top 3 finishes in 45 starts, made over $150,000 racing predominantly in the Mid-Atlantic area. So we have Jazz Napravnik here, the sister of Rosie Napravnik, who won the eventing discipline back in 2019 and accomplished a unique double, being a Thoroughbred Makeover champ as well as a Breeders' Cup winning jockey. And I think that's been something I've really enjoyed, Donna and Ashley, is seeing the racing connections who also are very heavily invested in how the thoroughbreds do off the track as well.
Ashley, he looks like he is pretty excited about these jumps.
I absolutely love this horse. I watched him in the prelims, and there's just a buzz around him. Everyone who sees him just kind of is taken back a little bit. There are certain horses that are just simply made for a certain discipline, and I believe this horse is just made for eventing. He absolutely loves it, and if you could see on cross country, he just has this awesome stride. Even when you're not asking for that gallop, it's just big and eats up the ground, and just look at those ears perk. He doesn't care if he's inside or outside. He just wants to do the jumps.
He looks like a Jack Russell on a barn hunt. He is just ready
That's
for
amazing.
more.
You'll have to tell our crowd and hear that, yes. Jazz kissing to Legends Hope, and she had a big smile on her face coming by our booth, and that's a nice, oh yeah, look at him.
Look at him.
Kick that leg out.
Not a surprise. He's having a fantastic time galloping in there.
In fact, now she's having to pull him back a little bit. Easy, boy. We got a turn coming up.
I mean, that horse is all class. I cannot wait to follow that career.
I agree, and his ears forward the whole time as he went past us, enjoying every stride.
Loves it.
I think the smile on Jazz Napravnik's face says it all, and giving the recognition to this gorgeous, gorgeous horse. And Donna and Ashley, you said some really nice things about this horse on the live stream that I think are worth sharing with the audience here in the covered arena.
Well, Ashley, the only thing I said is we've already said I am not a show jumper, but this horse looked to me like a Jack Russell on a barn hunt. He was so excited to be approaching every jump and everything that he did, and he just made it look so easy.
Yep, there are some horses that are made for certain disciplines, and this one looks like he's just truly made to be an eventer. Just absolutely loved every minute in here, and if you saw the prelims, outside as well.
So those are the 5 horses and riders to go in eventing, and let's give a round of applause to all of the competitors in the finale, and we'll have a chance to continue to recognize them when we do the awards ceremony that will be coming up in a few minutes after the scores are tabulated. We'll recognize the top 10 in each discipline, as well as recognizing the best conditioned, the top junior rider, the top amateur rider, as well as the top team. And thank you to our judges for the eventing discipline. Karen Wynn, who judged dressage, and then the next phase that the horses did was stadium jumping, judged by Richard Lamb, who not only has a great reputation in the eventing world, but has been part of the Thoroughbred Makeover since the beginning of the competition, and Dorothy Crowell, who, if there was a Mount Rushmore here at the Kentucky Horse Park, she would very well be on it with her off-the-track thoroughbred Molokai that performed so well at the Kentucky 3-day event back in 1998, as well as at the World Equestrian Games. And to our stewards, Lauren Burke, Jennifer Reisenbichler, and Joe Carr, and the course for the eventing discipline at the Mega Makeover designed by William Robertson, a USCF small R jumper and eventing course designer. Thank you to Maryland Jockey Club for being the sponsor of the live stream, and you can follow along on the live stream on tbmakeover.org. Ashley, as the judges tabulate the scores for this eventing discipline, how are these horses being judged? Now, the Thoroughbred Makeover, it's not going to be the traditional, dressage penalties, jumping penalties. How is the judging take place for this eventing discipline?
All of these disciplines are judged subjectively. It's not just jump penalties. The dressage score, normally they just show the penalties. They're counting up, they're not converting it. So it's more similar to a true dressage score when you got it. And then they're being evaluated on their quality of gallop, both in here and out on the cross-country course. And then each jump that they did was scored from 0 to 10. And then there are overall impressions, including rideability and just your overall impression of how that horse is prepared for eventing and transition from the track.
And also what we're seeing here in the covered arena for the finale, this is the culmination of the entire week, that their scores here in the finale are added to their scores that took place in dressage, stadium jumping, and cross country. And throughout the finale, all of the disciplines, the horses and riders, they carry their scores forward from the preliminaries into the finale, because the finale itself is a completely different test to do something like this in this environment.
It shows a bit of versatility on all of the horses. Many of the disciplines have not competed in the covered yet. So you'll see the dressage horses, the show hunters, the field hunters, even competitive trail, which in the name it shows trail, you're generally not inside. So sometimes there is a mix-up in the order in the finales, because you also have to test how well they do transitioning from their outside disciplines to what's been constructed inside this arena.
Yeah, it also speaks to the fact that they can't just have one good day and win. They have to have a couple of good days at least in a row and put together some nice rounds time and time again.
Which, once again, is a lot to ask for, as this has now been stated and described. It's a green horse competition. So you can have a horse that has his best ride of his life and gets you into the finale, and then they had their best ride the day before. And so a lot can happen today.
You can keep up with all of the live scoring on retiredracehorseproject.org and tbmakeover.org, and we'll just wait the word from the judges that the results are final, and then we will have the award ceremony for this first discipline, eventing, sponsored by Tipperary Equestrian. And thank you to Tipperary, a longtime supporter of the Thoroughbred Makeover, a brand that is synonymous with eventing excellence. After all of the 10 disciplines, each of the discipline winners will come back into the TCA covered arena. It'll be a tremendous collection of thoroughbred sport horses winning disciplines, all the way from our first discipline in eventing until ranch work at the end. And the judges will, across all disciplines, evaluate each discipline winner to recognize the Thoroughbred Makeover champion. And there will also be a special People's Choice Award to recognize the top horse from you, the people. And the Thoroughbred Makeover Champion Award will be sponsored this year by Churchill Downs. Churchill Downs, dedicated to thoroughbred aftercare, proud to support the athletes involved in the Thoroughbred Makeover. A $10,000 prize to the Thoroughbred Makeover champion. And then the People's Choice Award, that decided by all of you. We'll tell you how to text in your results after the end of the finale. The People's Choice Award winner will receive the opportunity to make a $2,500 donation to their 501c3 involved in thoroughbred aftercare of their choice. The People's Choice Award is sponsored by Achieve Equine.
Oh, it's updated there.
Achieve Equine's the maker of Flair Equine nasal strips and distributor of VIP equestrian saddle pads, bringing you innovative, evidence-based products for the welfare of your horse. Breathe easy, because Achieve Equine has your back.
Perfect, got it, thanks. The only pending top amateur was...
And now we have the results tabulated and time to recognize the top 10 finishers, as well as recognizing the top amateur, top team, top junior, and the best conditioned, as well as the TCA award and some special awards as well. And at this time, we'll start with the top 10, finishing in 10th place in eventing sponsored by Tipperary. Congratulations to rider number 1197, Wacky Pal, ridden by amateur Callan McQueen. And I think we can invite each of the riders after they're recognized to come in so that we can give them their moment inside the TCA covered arena. Again, in 10th place, rider number 1197, Callan McQueen, aboard Wacky Pal. The 10th place rider is not here, so we'll move on to 9th place and welcome into the ring, finishing in 9th, rider number 1208, Cameron Sadler, aboard Zapper. And finishing in 8th place, number 1075, Fortune Smiles and Aaron McDonald. They're not here to receive their recognition in the arena, so next we'll welcome in the 7th place finisher, number 1125, Near Gold, ridden by the Near Gold team. And the Near Gold team, also the top team for the eventing discipline, sponsored by Tipperary. The 6th place finisher, number 1121, Moral Compass, ridden by Abby Driscoll. Now to the top 5 that were all part of the finale this morning, finishing in 5th place, rider number 1149, Promoted, and Lisbeth Storant. Finishing in 4th place, number 1182, Sweet Talking Man, ridden by Emma Partridge. In 3rd place, as well as being the top amateur, rider number 1156, Kelly Junta, aboard Robbie Jones. The second place finisher, number 1122, Mr. Park, ridden by Britt Vegas. And that means that the winner of the class of 2020 Mega Makeover in eventing on a score of 333.06. Congratulations to number 1103. The horse is Legends Hope, and the rider is Jazz Napravnik. Also recognizing the top junior for the competition, number 1138, Oi to the World, ridden by Darcy Dean. The Best Conditioned Award, sponsored by Nina Bonney, to receive a halter from Clever with Leather, as well as a $200 prize. The Best Condition goes to number 1167. She's a Fine Line, ridden by Jordan Pruxma. And the Thoroughbred Charities of America Award for the eventing discipline, it goes to number 1154, Ragnar Lothbrock, ridden by Taya Fuller. They'll receive a $100 Smart Pack gift card. The TCA award goes to the top finishing horse acquired from a TCA accredited aftercare organization. The special award that goes to the top bred Maryland bred, it is to the winner. They get the blue ribbon as well as the $5,000 top prize. Congratulations to the champion of eventing, sponsored by Tipperary, Legends Hope, ridden by Jazz Napravnik. Riders, you want to take a lap around the ring so we can all salute you? And it was at the last makeover that Jazz's sister Rosie was the eventing champion aboard the horse that she's taking prelim Sanamo now. And now we have Jazz winning the competition aboard Legends Hope. Now, what's fascinating is that for our top two, their day isn't done. They're going to be coming right back for stadium jumping because they're the first two riders to go. Britt Vegas with Mr. Park and Jazz Napravnik with Legends Hope. Both of them from the eventing finale will be part of the stadium jumping finale.
Cool.